So what's going on, everybody? This episode is going to be mainly just discussing Jaguar Wright and the craziness that has been going on around her, just telling everything, regardless if you believe it or not, regardless if you're questioning her mental state or anything like that. Yeah, we're going to break down some of that's been going on with her and just talk about some other crap that's going on. So thanks for tuning in to episode 32. Let's just go ahead and get right on into it. Okay, now this episode is going to be just pretty much all over the place when I'm talking about what's going on with Jaguar Wright, because she's all over the place. She's been doing the rounds on a lot of these bloggers, YouTube shows, and just, telling everything. And as I mentioned in the intro, regardless if you believe it or not, let me start by saying this. There's usually some truth behind someone who has absolutely nothing to lose. And that would be one Jaguar Wright. She has nothing to lose at this point right now. She has burned so many bridges, and this is just recently. So I don't know what happened before that made her just snap like this. I don't know if it was her son's murder that really had her. She does talk about that. For people who don't know, let me just backtrack real quick. Jaguar Wright is a singer out of Philadelphia. She was associated with groups like The Roots. Most people got to first know her back in, what year was that? It was in the early 2000s. I want to say like maybe 2002 when Jay-Z released his Unplugged album, and she was the back. Remember, the Roots were doing the instrumental. They were the band for his Unplugged, and Jaguar Wright was one of the singers. And she, when she did Song Cry, Jay-Z's Song Cry, people were really like, "Dag, who is this girl?" And we never really heard much from her after that. Every now and then she may have popped up on something, but according to her, she's had a lot of people who kind of shaded her, and just, I don't even really know how to describe it, the way that she's coming for a lot of people, and she has a lot of stories about a lot of different people. Now, people may say, well, how does this one person know so much information about all of these people? And let me just go on by saying this now, and this is from her mouth, but we can give and take the truth about this because but she said that she's been in the business for over 30 years. I think she's like in her early 40s. She's around my age. So she says she started in the business when she was 11 years old. She was working at different record labels in Philadelphia. And we know Philadelphia is a huge mecca for soul music, and she was involved in a lot of that from a very young age. So she has a lot of ins and outs and everything, and she's developed a lot of friendships and relationships over the years. I don't know how many she still has today, but she knows so much about so many people, according to her. And a lot of people can argue that these aren't her stories to tell. Some of them are very personal, and she mainly got her start with all this from telling a story about Common basically pulling out his junk and trying to make her suck it while she was asleep. Basically had his stuff on her face, trying to make her suck his little pee-pee while she was, excuse me, while she was sleeping. That's how he was trying to wake her up, I guess, or whatever. So that really intrigued a lot of people. And this story came out around the time when he and Tiffany Haddish were becoming a couple. And a lot of people were saying, well, are they a couple because this came out or whatever? So it was a lot of stuff going on like that. But everybody was like, a lot of people didn't really know who Jaguar Wright was or forgot all about her and hadn't heard her name in almost 20 years. So, it was just a lot of confusion as to why she was coming out and telling all these stories and everything like that. And I mean, according to her, she knows everybody's business in the music business pretty much. And now some of the things she said are suspect. I'm going to, touch on some of those. Some things that I'm just like, it's a little far-fetched, but some of the things are very believable. And a lot of the things I'm going to say are things that she shouldn't have. It's not her story to tell. These are things that are personal to some people and may be hurtful to some people. There's no basis to things. I mean, she's brought up stuff about artist's death, like Aaliyah and things like this. Now, people have had certain speculations about a lot of these things, but it's just like, is it hearsay? Is she just hearing what we're hearing? And because she's in the business, she can add this little spin to it or whatever. And I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence because I like the tea, and a lot of us like the tea, and that's why she's getting all of this shine and everything. But in saying that, these aren't your stories to tell. Now the thing is, you can tell how you feel about certain things and how certain people in the business have screwed you over, which just seems like that's what's really happened. And people can say she's bitter, and she does come off bitter the way she's talking about, but you really can't judge her on that because this is her life. This is her livelihood. This is the business that she's in. So, I don't know, but we're going to get into some of the things that she has brought out there, and just you make the judge and call. You make the decision on if you believe it or not, if it's far-fetched, if it's just ridiculous, whatever. So let's just get into some of the things that Jaguar Wright has been out here saying that are just crazy. It's crazy regardless if it's true or not. Now, I will say this. As off-hinge as she is, a lot of people may be asking, well, how does she know all this business? Who is telling her all of these things? And I look at it like this. I know people who are very sneaky, deceiving, shady, underhanded, but people still tell them their business. And then they go and they tell other people. It's the same thing. She's just on a larger scale because she has a platform. But I know people in my personal life who this has happened to. I know a lot of people's business who I shouldn't know. And it's just like you have to watch what you tell certain people, because if I was a shady, conniving, I'm shady, but in a good way. But, like a shady, like in a bad way, like where I was just deceitful and everything like that. Regardless if it's true or not, I've heard a lot of things about a lot of people, and if you hear things about certain people, you can use that to your advantage in things, regardless if it could just be something that is hurtful, that that you can just almost destroy them on. It can happen. And I think that's why a lot of people are really confused as to what is going on here. So let's go ahead and get back. I digress. Let's go ahead and get into some of the things that she's been talking about here. Now this first thing that I'm going to discuss was kind of funny to me because it's very far-fetched. And it was one of the things that kind of had me giving pause, like, okay, yeah, she's a little, maybe what she's saying isn't, but then there are things that she says where I'm like, that could be true, But One of the things that's very suspect that she said, and she said it very matter-of-factly and everything, and it was that Beyonce and Gabrielle Union went to high school together. Or no, I'm sorry, she just said they went to school together. Now, I know there have been a lot of questions about Beyonce's age. I get it. I do believe that Beyonce is the age that she says she is. I believe she's 39 now. I do believe that she is 39 years old. When you look back at certain videos and pictures like that, I mean, like when they were on Star Search, you could tell she was a very young girl. She wasn't even a teenager at the time. You can tell just by looking at her. You can tell by certain pictures. Now, you don't know exactly what year they are, but you could pretty much guess. I mean, yeah, so I believe Beyonce is the age that she is. And I know that Gabrielle Union is older than Beyonce by at least, 8, 9 years, if not more, maybe 10. I can't think off the top of my head how old Gabrielle Union is, but there's no way possible, for one, age-wise, that they were in school together. Now, if she was just saying high school, there's no way. Middle school, no way. Elementary school, no way. And this is just age-wise I'm talking about. We'll get to location in a second. Even if they went to college together, because you can be in college with people who are 60 years old and you're 18, When I was in college, I was really shocked. I knew adults went to college, like people older than me, like our parents' age and stuff like that. But I was really shocked. There were people in class with me that were, retired, and they went back to school, or they were, in their 40s and 50s. And, they were tired of what they were doing. They still had, some years left till they could retire. And they wanted to move up where they were at, or they wanted to go into a different field. I mean, it happens. But let's just say this. Now, I do believe that Gabrielle Union went to college. I think she went to either UCLA or USC. I don't know if she graduated or not. I don't know all of that. That's irrelevant to where I'm going. But Beyonce didn't go to college at all. And Beyonce even said it herself. Now, this is no shade. I love Beyonce. This is no shade. But Beyonce didn't even graduate high school. She ended up getting her GED recently. You know what I mean? Years after she should have graduated. Now, she's a couple years younger than me. I graduated from high school in 1998, so she should have graduated, let's say, depending on what year she was, but let's just say she should have graduated in 2000 from high school. Okay, that should have been the year that she graduated. But I think I don't know if it was before Blue Ivy was born but regardless, Beyonce never went to college. Okay, so let's just stop right there. So age-wise, there's no way that they went to school together. The timing of Beyonce actually getting say she did get her GED and she went to college, still it wouldn't have been relevant. So Gabrielle Union, I believe that I think she was born in Omaha, Nebraska, or somewhere like that, but she ended up moving, was it to Sacramento or something? San Diego, somewhere. She ended up moving, I think, to California as a teenager. So obviously, I think she went to high school in California. I'm not sure. So geographic-wise, it wasn't possible because Beyonce is from Houston. And from what I understand, until she got with Jay-Z, until they got serious, she lived in Houston that entire time until she moved to New York with Jay-Z. That's from what I know. So that's not really possible either. So I say all that to say that some of the things that Jaguar Wright says are very far-fetched, and you're just like, wow, okay. All right, I don't know about that, and that just doesn't make any sense from the jump. But anyway, so let's see. I mean, she's been coming for everybody. I mean, she has been coming for so many people. I mean, she got it out for Clive Davis. She wants to expose Clive Davis so bad. I mean, it's terrible how bad she wants to expose Clive Davis. And she mentioned a lot of things that we already knew. I mean, Clive Davis already came out and said that he is bisexual, and that's his business, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to, I have my side eye about Clive Davis a lot anyway, about a lot of things that he did, mainly involving Whitney Houston, along with the Alicia Keys and who was it? Was it India Ari or someone that was on the same label or something? That's a whole nother podcast for another day, but he did something shady and basically put out Alicia Keys, which was well deserved because Alicia's talented and she had some hit songs, but it was the way he did it, I guess. And I think it was India Ari. I'm pretty sure it was, but anyway, but yeah, she has it out for Clive Davis. She has it out for Alicia Keys. I mean, she is on Alicia's neck, okay? She has it out for Diddy. Definitely Common and Talib Kweli. I mean, child, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, Mary J. Blige. I mean, India Ari. I mean, she has it, pretty much everyone. She has an issue with. And I don't know if she has already been blackballed, but if not, which I'm sure she was, because I think that's why she just doesn't give a damn anymore. So, I mean, she has it out for all of them for very different reasons. She wants to expose Diddy and Clive Davis as pretty much running some kind of underground sex thing, as to where they basically use sex mainly for men in the business so that they can get what they want. Basically, they use sex and all this other stuff and dirty, just the way that they do business is very dirty. Now, Common and Talib Kweli. Common, I know she has a problem with him from what I described earlier, where he allegedly attempted to sexually assault her. And Talib Kweli, I guess they had a relationship or something, and either he was cheating on her and kind of dismissed her or something, whatever happened, she scorned. And she got it out for Kweli as well. Now, when it comes to Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, Alicia Keys, she can't stand Mary J. Blige. She can't stand Jill Scott. And as I said, she really didn't speak that much about Erykah Badu, but she did basically say that they're not cool, that, she has some issues with her. I don't think she really went into anything about Erykah Badu, but as I mentioned, she has her whole entire foot, okay, on Alicia Keys' neck. And I mean, she just kept constantly talking about how only reason why Alicia Keys got to where she is because she's light-skinned, and it just kept coming back to her being light-skinned. I mean, girl. I mean, okay. She talked about her, of course, being a homewrecker, and I mean, that's not your business. I mean, a lot of us joke about it, but I mean, her and Swiss Beats have been together all this time. She and Mashonda and Swiss Beats, they got this little Modern Family thing going on to where they do holidays together, they do vacations together. Let them live. That's not your story to tell. And for some reason, she really hates Jill Scott and Mary J. Blige. I mean, she almost, without saying it, pretty much wished a lot of harm on Mary J. Blige. I don't know what Mary did to her. She wouldn't go into it. She didn't even really go into what Jill Scott... Well, she did kind of say that Jill Scott stole some of her music. And that she was promised to be... Jaguar was promised to be the Philadelphia sound for the females, but Jill Scott basically stepped on her toes and got in there and did her thing, which... From what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing from other people, like the Roots and everything like that, that's not what happened. She has it in for the Roots too. Oh my gosh. I mean, she is just, I mean, pretty much everyone has done her wrong. According to her, everyone has done her wrong. And she's into this exposing stuff. And I mean, exposing everyone who has done her wrong. So interesting. But let's see. Now she came back out against Jill Scott, and this was after she had already said some things about some very disparaging things, regardless if they're true or not, about Common and Talib Kweli. Now, if she's lived this, yes, she can tell her story as much as she wants to, but she really went at Jill Scott because Jill Scott did, of course, a subliminal post basically backing these men who Jaguar, and I think there were some other men too. I think, well, maybe it had to do with like Clive Davis and Diddy and whoever else. Talking about Diddy basically was having all these male sexual relationships and everything like that with a lot of artists. And I'm not going to say anything who they are because, I'm not going to do that because that's going to be like I'm exposing them. But regardless if it's true or not, that's not your business to tell because she was basically outing a lot of people during this. And I mean, if it's true or not, that's not your place. But I guess she felt like when Jill Scott did this post, and I can't remember what it was a while ago, but basically Jill Scott subliminally came at Jaguar and was backing and supporting these men who are accused of doing these heinous things. And it was basically Jaguar took it personally because she said this is basically just Jill getting back at her. But in the meantime, she's hurting other people, which Jaguar, girl, you're doing the same thing. But I digress. So a couple other things that really stood out to me where she tried to out Tevin Campbell for saying that he was selling ass on Hollywood Boulevard back in the day. And baby, let me tell you something. Brother Tevin done came back and has, gave her a real classy bass read, pretty much just in so many words saying, bitch, do you know who I am? That's basically what his read came down to. Tevin has admitted to, I think back in the day, he said he was trisexual, which just means he'll try anything. So, I mean, obviously Tevin has had relationships with both men and women. That's his business. I don't think anybody was really shocked. Let's just keep it real. And, it's been alleged that Tevin had issues with drugs and, but I don't ever remember him being in trouble with the law or anything like that. Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, to go that far and to say something like that, which is something that nobody knew or nobody had heard of, and if they did, they kept it real quiet. But for you to come out and, of all people, to mess with Tevin Campbell, I mean, Brother Tevin is just doing his thing, wherever he is. Tevin is just doing his thing. He pops out and he does his little songs every now and then. He comes up and he does a tribute here and there, to let y'all know that, yes, I still have it. I think he's done some stage plays. Let Tevin live. Let Tevin do his thing. And girl, but Tevin got her together and basically was like, I don't have to sell anything, okay? I may not be popping anymore, but I am still Tevin Campbell and the girls know who I am. So there's that. That's basically what he said, but he did it real classy. He didn't get nasty, but he got her together. And as I mentioned, most of this tea that she was spilling were things that we had already heard, and one of the things that kind of bothered me a lot, and, and even back then, I had heard things about Aaliyah's death that were very suspect, basically saying things to the extent that, she was pretty much set up to get on that plane and, that it wasn't her, but they were like really pushing for her to get on that plane and that they overloaded it on purpose, just all these crazy things. Like there were all these conspiracies and stuff like that. Then they went back and they talked about how when Mary J. Blige was on 106 in Park, not long after Aaliyah died, that she even got on there and said that they shouldn't have done that to her or to baby girl or something like that, she said, basically referring to Aaliyah. And I remember back then, and see, that this was in 2001, so the gossip blogs and the internet and all that stuff wasn't really popping back then. So things weren't floating around as quickly as they would now. If someone were to say that now, then there would be about 20,000 posts about that immediately, like within 10 minutes of Mary J. Blige saying that. But we didn't have that back then. But I remember a lot of people were saying, over the years that something just didn't seem right about her death. So a lot of that piqued my interest that Jaguar was saying, but it's still very hurtful, the way that she was talking about and everything like that. And as I mentioned, she may have this knowledge, because people like her, they can get in with people and make them feel comfortable, and that you can tell them anything, and your secret's safe with me, and I'm just a lending ear for you and everything like that, and then go around and spill everything. I mean, there are people like that, but as I mentioned, she just has a bigger platform. But there are some things that just need to just be, you don't need to repeat, girl. That's all. But so in the end, she is dead set and determined on ruining Clive Davis' career, which, I mean, his career is basically, and I say the only thing she can do is attempt to ruin his name, because career-wise, Clive can retire anytime he wants to. And you don't really even hear much about Clive Davis anymore. He may not even be working as much as he had been in the past or whatever. But, I mean, girl, it's just, okay. And she's also wants to ruin Diddy. And, Diddy's been having these same rumors about him taking advantage of men and, him being bisexual. And, she even said something that he had something to do with Kim Porter's death and all this other stuff. And, that's what I'm saying. Like, some of the stuff is just like, even if it is true, you don't tell that. I mean, you don't do that. You don't go there. The internet is too open. And there are too many ears. I mean, just, so many people want to play judge and jury, and that's not your place. But we're here for the tea, so, because I'm talking about it on my podcast, so obviously it was something. But Jaguar Wright, girl, I mean, she got bloggers going at it, people who have been friends, because they got the story before this one did, and, they had the interview with her before I could get to you. And, I mean, it's a mess. But Jaguar Wright, even though she's been doing this for a couple months now that I know of, she still has people's ear out here, and she's still trending. So we'll see. But a lot of things actually don't need to be told by her. They're not your story to tell, girl, but who am I, So I'm just getting these shows out to y'all, ain't I? I'm trying. I got to get back to Not Another True Crime Podcast. I got to get back to that, as I mentioned in the past 2 podcasts. The next episode should be the Chris Watts story, his case, talking about his bitch ass. So, yeah, I'm just trying to rewatch some things to make sure that I got my notes together. And there are some other stories that I have out there that I want to talk about as well. There's even something that I went through that I'm going to discuss. And it's going to be a lot, but it was a true crime, and it needs to be discussed. So there's that. But other than that, I mean, yeah, y'all's former, okay, I said I wasn't going to do that because it's not even funny anymore. That person occupying 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza is still throwing a temper tantrum today. The day I'm recording this is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. Salute to all the men and women who have served this country in any capacity in the United States Armed Forces. I personally work with a lot of veterans, and I have, over the past 5.5 years that I have been at this job, I have got to know a lot of them and gotten to hear their stories and what they have went through, and see what they're still going through, what they have to deal with, still to this day as being veterans, and how they're treated. So I just always want to give a shout out and a salute anytime, but especially today, because this is your dedicated day to salute you all. So happy Veterans Day. And I was very close to going into the Army. I wanted to go in the Army, And it was something that I wanted to do for a while. I never really talked about it. And I had gotten in shape and I lost a lot of weight and everything like that during the summer after I graduated, and I kept getting the weight off. But I decided to go on to, I never went back and talked to the recruiters. I just went on and went to college, and, there's that. But I did think about it, but I'm not making this about me. But it is something that, I did think about. And I think about it now towards a lot of things, like where I could have been in my life right now. And also, not only that, but as I mentioned earlier, I graduated high school in 1998. That was only a few years. I would have probably still been enlisted if everything would have went okay. I would have probably still been enlisted around 9/11. So that could have definitely changed my life in a lot of different ways. And who knows? But we're not going to get into all of that. So we just want to keep it focused on the ones that did serve. Thank you so much to the ones who are still serving, even though you're not quote unquote technically veterans, I guess, because you're not retired yet. Still, thank you. Thank you to active duty as well. So this past weekend, we lost Alex Trebek, which was just devastating. Another one. And even though it was kind of expected, now I know he still had been recording his show. And they're still airing his show. I think that they have enough episodes to air until Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. And but yeah, he lost his battle with pancreatic cancer. And when he first was diagnosed, I think he was already in stage 4. And he actually, for his age and everything, he was 80 years old when he passed away. But for when he was diagnosed, which was just like, I think a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, he still hung on and was strong and was fighting. But they said that they could tell, his last week, and especially that last day that he was there, that he was in pain and he was just trying to get through it. And, so that's very sad. But I know, like, see, that's a show like my generation grew up on. Even if you didn't watch Jeopardy, you knew about Jeopardy, and you knew it was a hard ass show. And anyone who got on there and anyone who won, you just thought was just the smartest person in the world. But for me, I always liked watching Jeopardy. I remember I had the Jeopardy Nintendo game. I think when I had my Sega Genesis, like I always had like a Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune game, because those were things that we grew up on. Those were just sounds that we were used to hearing when the Jeopardy, this is Jeopardy, when that would come on, and all that stuff, and the Wheel of Fortune when that would come on. It was just it was just the sounds of our childhood. So yeah, that was very sad, but rest in peace to him. We have lost, 2020 has just been a year. I mean, we have lost so many icons, and Sean Connery passed away. What was that, last weekend he passed away? And but we look at it, and these celebrities, these icons, most of them are still, even if like, I don't know when the last movie that I actually saw that Sean Connery did, but I had, I like watching a lot of older movies, and, so, and I'm a James Bond fan. So I would watch these things, and even though of course he was much younger and, they were years ago, whatever, but you're watching them. And this is for a lot of icons too, even the ones that have already passed away. You see them and you just are like, dang, they're not here no more. But then you're thinking like, well, they probably wouldn't be here anymore because, this movie was back in the 50s or 60s, whatever. And they were already, so, but it's just hard still to think about that, that so many of these icons are passing away, even though they're of the age, regardless if it's cancer or, it's like some kind of illness or natural causes or whatever. It's still weird. It's still weird to think about that these people who we grew up watching and still watch are just, passing away. But 2020 has been some shit, and then you got, oh Lord, we got like what, I think now 71 days or 72 days, something like that, until, the inauguration. And the Republicans still, so many, you have a couple who are coming out saying, even some Secretary of States, they're saying Joe Biden won this election. Then you have other ones talking about that it's not over. All the votes need to be counted. Yes, all the votes need to be counted and all will be counted. But the remaining votes that they had, the reason why they can call these states is because they have even the remaining votes that are left still wouldn't make a difference. Okay? It still wouldn't make a difference. And as I mentioned in the podcast that I did about the election, these Republicans and his administration who are feeding in to his narcissism and his spoiledness, he's just having a big ass temper tantrum right now. That's all it is. He's having a temper tantrum. You have now the 2016 election was closer than this one. And they got on Hillary for not, even though she called and conceded that night, she didn't make her speech until the next morning. And of course they got on her about that. I mean, okay, you just lost to Donald Trump. I wouldn't be able to come out and face the public that quickly anyway. It's a good thing that she was able to do it the next day. I mean, I'm just saying. Well, the following morning. I mean, child, but I mean, we all were in shock. She was in shock, so I mean, it is what it is. But for them to not even acknowledge and say that it's not over. One Republican, he was walking through and the reporter asked him, have you called to have you congratulated Vice President Biden yet for his win? And he was just like, no. And then they said, why? And they said, well, there's nothing to congratulate him about yet. Yes, there is. I mean, he won. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, every vote needs to be counted and every vote will be counted. But they know how elections work. They're just feeding into this. And as I mentioned, all they're doing is just pissing people off again, even more, so that when we have this runoff election in Georgia in January for the Senate seats, hopefully this will just piss off more Democrats or more independents or even more Republicans to vote for the Democratic ticket. I hope so. I do. I really hope so. I mean, this is just amazing. Nothing should surprise me anymore. And Donald Trump prepared us for this. I mean, he basically said in so many words, even though he said we'll have to see, we knew that meant that he wasn't going to accept defeat. You have his administration, you have Pompeo's bitch ass coming out saying, we're preparing for what did they say? What did he say? The second Trump administration. That's the only thing that's the only transition that they're working on. And of course he said it with a smile because he knows it's not true. And they're just making it worse, just playing in to all of this. You have the person who's in charge of the transition. She hasn't even reached out to the Biden campaign, but they're going full steam ahead. I mean, he's already put out his coronavirus task force, which one of the heads of it is a black female doctor, work. And I mean, it's just crazy. And then now you have Donald Trump Jr. and his girlfriend who want to be the head of the RNC. I mean, just go away somewhere. I mean, child, his girlfriend is the one, I think she used to be on Fox News or something. And she used to be married to he was a Democrat and she was, Republican. But I guess she was like she wasn't a Trump Republican until recently. And of course now she's dating Donald Trump Jr., his bitch ass. And now they want to be the head of the RNC. But this is what happened. I mean, the Republican Party is now the party of Trump. They had allowed this to happen. And now the Trumps think that they can run the entire party. And they basically can, because everyone drank the water and everyone fell in line with Trumpism. And they're still, doing it. And a lot of the silence from a lot of these head senators and Congress people and everything like that on the Republican side is falling into all of that as well. Basically letting it know that they don't accept it. And I mean, child, if anything, Hillary in 2016 could have asked for a recount. She could have said that all this. And I think I mentioned this before. The fraud claims, he said it was fraud last time, even though he won. He won the electoral vote, but he said it was fraud because he didn't win the popular vote, and he believes he won the popular vote, or he did win the popular vote as he said it, which he didn't. It's just really ridiculous. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about it anymore. There's really nothing that you can say except for that he's crazy. He's crazy as hell, and he's scared. He doesn't know what to do because he actually lost something and he can't fix it. He can't fix this. I mean, it is what it is. He's already destroyed democracy in so many ways, and he's continuing it on a national stage. And as President-elect Joe Biden said, it's an embarrassment. But he and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are getting right to work. They're not, I mean, you just had to ignore it. Let them go ahead and do what they feel that they can do and everything like that. But girl, it's over. It's over. You know, I mean, even the votes that they have left, it's not going to make a difference. You're still going to lose. They got Georgia hand counting over 5 million ballots. I mean, and Georgia is rightfully so, right. I mean, it's okay for them to call for a recount because it's within the margin. But if Joe Biden wanted to be petty, he could say, well, you know, I believe that there was fraud in this state, or I believe there was fraud in this state, you know, or let's check this, you know, this one because, you know, it was too close. But see, that's the difference between realists and idiots. You know what I mean? So there's that. So I've been working on my outline for my book. I think I mentioned that I did meet with a publisher and an editor. I did meet with them. So I'm excited about that. Just trying to get all that together, figuring out which way I want to go, if I want to self-publish, which I can, or if I want to use a publishing company, which seems like it would be smarter for me to do. But I have about 3 book ideas, and I have started outlining one of them. As much as I love to write, writing a book is hard. You know, I've had these ideas for so long, and just getting it together, because you have to do, even if you're not doing like a character story, you still have to have characters. You still have to have scenes. You still have to have all this stuff. And even though you know how you want to tell this story, it's still hard. It is really hard. So I think that I am going to use the help that I'm able to get. And not only that, I'm still taking writing classes. And I want to start publishing some of my short stories on my blog, on my website. And I'm trying to get away from calling it a blog because it's a website, because it's so much more than a blog is just, the blog is just one aspect of it, but there's so much more on there, and I'm trying to build on it. So, you know, just trying to get everything going, because I would love to do this full time. I mean, seriously, I like my job. I can tolerate it. I have a very good job. I make very good money. But when it's not what you truly want to do, and you've been doing basically the same thing for so long, and you just have it in your heart to do something else, but you're also at a position financially and in your life where you can't just throw it all away, you know. So we'll see how everything works out. But yeah, so I have that going on. I'm looking into, it's kind of hard right now for all the writing classes that I normally take, because they were in person, like at the Kelton House. And where was the last one I took at? It wasn't at the Kelton House here in Columbus. It was, dang, I can't ever remember the name of that building. But they have writing classes and workshops here where you can, talk to people who have published, or people who are in the same position that you're in, There are WordPress and blogger meetups that happen. I don't go to those every month, especially now. I think they're more virtual now. I haven't been to one in quite a while. But yeah, I mean, it's good to network. It's good to talk to other people who have the same interests as you do, regardless of what it is, regardless if it's photography, regardless if it's just doing a podcast, regardless if it's writing, cooking, whatever your interests are. It is good to get with people who have similar interests, because you have people around you who you can identify with and get ideas from, just different things like that. Networking is very important. So as much as a people person that I am not, I still don't mind going to these classes and workshops and discussions, just hearing other writers, just talk about their journey, whatever like that. Those are pretty cool. They have those at libraries and other places like that. You can find out about events like that on Eventbrite and different websites where you can just in the different apps and things where you can look at different events that are going on around your city. So right now I'm actually looking into doing some writing classes, and a lot of them are free. A lot of these classes are free because these people are just doing it out of the kindness of their heart, just trying to help other people. So you can also look for that. I think one writing class I took was $20, and I got a lot out of that class. So it just depends. It just depends on what you're looking for, what your budget is, if you have some extra money to spend. If you don't, which I prefer not to spend money. I mean, I'm just saying, because I spend enough money doing all this other stuff. You just have to look and see what's out there for you in your budget. If you choose to, go that route, that's all up to you. So that's all for this week's show, episode 32. I think I've done enough rambling and talking your ears off right now, but I kind of like that part of the show where I just discuss whatever just comes to the top of my head. It's, it's a lot of stuff comes, across this crazy head. So yeah, that's just how it goes. But as always, you can check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon Podcasts, as well as listen to the podcast and check out my website, blog, all of that at DannieBSpeaks.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, you can hit me up at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. The same if you would like to be a sponsor, or if you would like for me to sponsor you, shoot me an email at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. So as always, once again, thank you for tuning in and taking time to listen to my podcast. Check out the rest of the podcasts that are still up there. Hopefully, I don't know if when I switch podcast providers, I'm not sure if a lot of the older ones are still on the website, but I'm pretty sure if you go to the link on my Spreaker page, I believe that's what it is, and that's Spreaker, Spreaker, speaker, but with the R in it. About to find a way. I think they're all still on my YouTube page, like a lot of the older ones, as well as Not Another True Crime Podcast, which if you haven't subscribed to that one, please subscribe to that one as well. If you haven't subscribed to this one, subscribe to this one. But anyway, thank you again, and take care of yourself and each other. Be safe out there, and I'll check y'all on the next one. Peace.